Glad I got that off my chest. Andy Bell.
Thank you very much, Andy Bell, 5 News. Didn't the state, though, grow precisely because the voluntary sector, the big society, whatever you want to call it, simply couldn't cope? And the experiment that you're proposing, with that, you at least run the risk of a lot of people ending up with worse public services because the state is rolled back and that guarantee is withdrawn.
I think it's a very important question that we get this right. One of the concerns, I think it's a very important concern, is say all they like about that, but I just don't think it will get anywhere. And I think what the country is crying out for, and I feel this on the streets as you go around, people are not yet that engaged in this election. A lot of people are very switched off from this election, but they are longing to hear something positive, something concrete, something specific, something that will actually make a difference to their lives. And that's what this document is all about. It is unremittingly positive and optimistic and upbeat about what we can all achieve if we come together as a country. And I think it's doing something really important, because I think the politicians have been treating the public like mugs for about 40 years, pretending that actually we, the politicians, have all the answers. Just give us some power, we'll pass another Queen's speech, we'll pass a few more laws, we'll issue some regulations, we'll spend a bit more money, and it will all get better. And it's a lie. It doesn't work like that. You only really change things if you bring people with you and if they play their part. Does anyone think we're going to crack crime by one more criminal justice bill or one more police officer funded? We're only going to do it when the country comes together, when shopkeepers stop selling alcohol to kids, when we bring up our children properly, when we unleash social enterprises and charities to improve our communities. So it's a very optimistic, hopeful, forward-looking message that I don't think Labour have got a chance of matching. Glad I got that off my chest. Andy Bell.
Thank you very much, Andy Bell, 5 News. Didn't the state, though, grow precisely because the voluntary sector, the big society, whatever you want to call it, simply couldn't cope? And the experiment that you're proposing, with that, you at least run the risk of a lot of people ending up with worse public services because the state is rolled back and that guarantee is withdrawn.
I think it's a very important question that we get this right. One of the concerns, I think it's a very important concern, is to try and explain that there is the capacity in the country to improve our society and our public services in the way that we suggest. And what I would say is this, that I think if you take, for instance, education, I think there is now pretty good evidence to show that, of course, the state getting behind education has been vital and good and important. But there have been moments, and I think the last 13 years is a pretty good example, where uniformity and over-prescriptive state action has snuffed out enterprise. And that's why we think in education we so want to see more competition, more choice, more diversity, more excellence in the system, which you don't get if you try to run education by 45,000 bits of paper sent to every head teacher every year. So yes, we want to see good universal provision, but it should be provision based on competition and choice and enterprise, not on the dull, dead hand of state uniformity. And I think that's even more important in the modern world of 2010, where people have so much power and control over every other parts of their life. At the click of a mouse, at the push of a button, they want to see that in their public services too. Let's have Nick Watt from The Guardian.
Thank you. In a sense, today you've announced that should you win the election, you will appoint an extra 24th member of the Cabinet, and that extra person will be the British people. Are you not concerned that when you ask that member of your Cabinet to sign up to what will be the most severe spending cuts in 30 to 40 years, that they might walk out? And that today what you need to do is not have a love-in with the British people, but spell out to them in clear terms what those cuts will mean. Protecting NHS spending, that means rising in line with inflation. That will feel really tough after a decade of increases above inflation at 4 to 5%. And protecting NHS spending means cuts in other areas of 17%.
Well, Nick, you've been out on the road with me, not just in recent months, but over the last couple of years, where I've done public meetings, Cameron Direct public meetings. I think I've done 72 in the last couple of years in every part of the country. And when I'm asked questions about the budget deficit and about spending, I am very frank with people. I do say, yes, we're going to increase health spending by more than inflation, but that's not as much as recent years, and it will mean we have to be efficient and effective in the way that we run the health service. And I do say to people, as I answered a question earlier, there are difficult decisions that we have made about asking people to retire a year earlier from 2016, about not paying some of the benefits to families over 50,000. You know, we have said these difficult things because I do want us to take the country with us in dealing with the budget deficit. I've said many times, press conferences you've been at, and I think the public have heard that from the Conservatives. They know that we get it. They know we understand what a deep hole the country is in and that difficult decisions have to be made. And I think that we're in a much better place than any other party because we were more straightforward, more quickly about what needed to be done. Now, of course, no party has set out every single last point of this, and it's more difficult from opposition because the government hasn't even set out the next 3 years of public spending. So I believe we've done what we can by taking on the big areas, things like pensions and benefits and pay. And we've gone further, I think, than any other opposition party, almost in history, setting these things out in advance. Only time for one more, I'm afraid. Let's have Roland Watson at the back from the Times. Try and make that two more, I think.
Thank you. Can I just confirm a couple of things on national insurance? You make great play of stopping Labour's national insurance rise. Can I just confirm your plans are to ease it, not to stop it, and that unless you want to open a black hole in your finances, you'll be introducing a national insurance rise yourself, not as large as Labour's, but nonetheless a national insurance rise that you call a tax on jobs. And can I just ask what your calculation is for how many jobs you think that would cost?
Now, Roland, no, you've got this wrong, and let me try and explain, because you asked me this question last week as well. Let me try and explain. The point is, if you reduce waste in public spending by a net of £6 billion in 2010, you are putting public spending on a permanently lower path through that Parliament, just as the increase in national insurance that Labour are planning would be an increase through that Parliament. So our plan stops the national insurance jobs tax that they are planning all the way through. But yes, you're right in one regard that we're not stopping every single part of the national insurance rise because we decided to focus our firepower on the people on the lower levels of pay. So we're stopping the jobs tax, which is the employer part of the national insurance rise, on jobs over 5,700, and we're stopping the part that the employee will pay between 20,000 and the top rate of tax. And we've explained and set out exactly how that's done. But you can't stop every part of it. Richer people in our country will still pay more national insurance under the Conservatives' plans. But the part that is the jobs tax, the thing that will actually stop companies creating jobs, we are stopping that. And I think that's a very important thing that we do. Can I thank everyone for coming? Can I thank all of my colleagues in the Shadow Cabinet and everyone who's made today possible? Can I thank you all for coming? Above all, what this manifesto is about is not saying it's the same old politics, the same old politicians, the same old idea of we stand up and just announce a series of plans. It's actually about working with people, getting the whole country to come together so we can tackle the big economic and social problems we have. It's a new way of doing politics. It's right for our times. It's absolutely what our country needs. And we are now going to take it to every corner of the United Kingdom and try and win that mandate that we think that this country needs so badly. Thank you very much indeed.
Well, there we are. David Cameron saying we are all in this together. A new politics if he's elected as the country comes together. Let's just listen, though, to some of the applause he's getting there after the launch of the Conservative election manifesto.